Welcome to this week's installation of a Bisselle Torah. You know, the word Bisselle is Yiddish, and it means a little. And that's what we do every single week. We gather together to learn a little Torah. This week's Torah is from the Sidra that we're reading on Shabbat called Tetsaveh, toward the end already of the book of Shemot, the book of Exodus. And it begins with these words, Ve'ata Tetsaveh. You know the first word, Ve'ata. The Vav at the beginning means and. Ve'ata is you, and it's so familiar to us because we use it every single day in our davening. Baruch atah, blessed are you. Baruch atah, but speaking directly to God, almost like Martin Buber's analysis of a dynamic but tight relationship between two individuals. When we call somebody you, in his language it was ich and du, I and thou. It's very intimate, it's very close. And so when God is speaking to Moses, he says, V'ata Tetsaveh. I want you to go out and command the Jewish people to do such and such. But it's the intimacy of that conversation that really startles and makes us stop and think about how to develop a relationship with God that is just like that we call God Atah. And when we say the word Atah, we infuse it with such meaning and such holiness and such love and intimacy that it becomes a relationship in which we are dialoguing with God, not speaking to God, but speaking rather with God. And that's precisely what's happening in this Torah reading. It's giving us a directional signal as to how to have a relationship with the Almighty. V'ata Tetsaveh. In an intimate way, God says to Moses, well, not even mention Moses' name. It's unnecessary. When you see your best friend, do you need to say your best friend's name? No, you look in their eye and you say, and you, my friend, I've missed you for such a long time. And you, my friend, it's so good to see you again. Why should the relationship that we have with God be any different or less intimate than we have with our best friend? And I mentioned earlier that Moshe's name, although he is the Atah, he is the you or thou, his name is conspicuously absent. In fact, in the entire Torah reading that we have this week, Moses' name is not found at all. And perhaps because Moses' name is implicit in everything that is stated throughout the entire passage. This is to Moses. Can you do the same? Can we do the same? Have that kind of relationship with God where we speak directly to God without having to use superlatives, without having to use a book. Sometimes spontaneous prayer is nothing more than spontaneous love, that we speak with an open heart directly to God. And this is how we in Judaism do have this relationship with God. It's not through an intermediary. It's not through a great rabbi or a tzaddik or a sage. It's through ourselves, from our heart, directly to God. And I think that's implicit in this week's Torah reading. And one other point that I want to make that is a very powerful, yet important one that should not be missed. After God calls to Moses by saying, Atah Tetsaveh, he says, I want you to command the children of Israel to take shemen, zayit, katit. I want you to take pulverized olive when you arrive in the Holy Land and fill them into these receptacles that will make a light that will burn forever, reminding you that I'm always with you. But the key point here is, and this is pointed out by many of our great sages, and amongst them the Gra, that the olives are pushed, they're squashed, they're ground very finely until all the oil comes out of the olive itself, and then finally it is fit for use in the holiest manner to provide light illumination to the Jewish people and a sign, a signal to them that God is always present. And the Gra reminds us that life is tough. Not that we necessarily need to be reminded that life is difficult, but life is often very trying. It grinds us, it pushes us, it makes us feel sometimes like we have been pulverized. It challenges us virtually daily, sometimes hourly. How do we get through the tough times? By allowing those tough times to change the fabric of our being. We should learn from our mistakes, and we should learn from pain. Pain is the greatest teacher of them all. And so emblematic of these magnificent fruits of the promised land that will finally ground up and produce something absolutely magnificent, a flame that would burn unto God, so too we have that potential to take every negative thing that would otherwise cause us consternation and make us doubt and make us perhaps even bitter, to learn from this example that we can turn the painful moments of our lives, those challenging moments of our lives, into something that makes us grand and greater than we ever thought possible. You and I represent those olives. And you and I also have the opportunity to go into this intimate relationship with God with atah, addressing God as an intimate you. I wish you a wonderful Shabbos, and I wish you the great opportunity to turn challenges into spun gold and to use the opportunity of talking directly to God rather than there being silence between heaven and earth, between your heart and God's yearning to be touched by you. Shabbat Shalom.